Hey friends, Pastor Stephanie here, and I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us again for another daily devotional. What a beautiful way to start off our week together. So, I am joining you today from my bathroom because really, I feel like we've become very good friends. So, why not? Actually, I am in my bathroom today because I want to tell you a little story about something that happened in my bathroom many, many years ago. Now, when I signed up to be a parent, when Phil and I decided that we were going to have kids, there were certain things that I knew I would have to face: dirty diapers, potty training, fits of rage, bad attitudes, all those kind of things. I knew going into parenthood that that was something I was going to have to do and deal with. There were other things, though, that I didn't know that I had signed up for. One of those things was that I did not realize that I was going to have to clean wax out of my children's ears. Anybody ever think of that before they became a parent? No, because nobody ever thinks of that. But, as we're told, we're not really supposed to use Q-tips to do this, but sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they lie about it because their doctors tell them not to use them. But I remember one time when my oldest daughter, Callie, was probably around 3 or 4 years old. And we were playing outside. She had learned to ride her little bike with training wheels, so she was riding her bike up the sidewalk. And I remember watching as a car came down the street, and I could tell that car was going to turn into the driveway where she was just about to cross into that driveway on their sidewalk. And I remember being very scared because I was far enough away that I couldn't quite tell if the driver was seeing her. So I yelled her name and I said, "Callie, Callie, stop, stop." And she did not stop. And I remember being very frustrated with her. Fortunately, everything worked out fine. The driver of the car saw her. They stopped. They let her pass through their driveway, and it was just fine. But when Callie got back down to me, I said to her, "Why did you not stop when I told you to stop?" And she looked at me with her big brown eyes, with tears starting to well up inside of them, and she said, "I never heard you say that." Well, then that night, we happened to be giving her a bath, and I thought I would look in her ears to see if maybe she had some earwax buildup, and that's why she didn't hear me. Well, we had a little tool, a little squeezy tool that you fill with water, and then you put the water in and it rinses the wax out. So we did that with her while she was in the bathtub. And I'm telling you, friends, the amount of wax that came out of that kid's ear should not even be repeated. There was so much wax. It was no wonder that she couldn't hear me when I yelled at her, because there was so much wax keeping her from being able to hear what I was saying to her. Well, that reminded me of a scripture passage. Now, you may be wondering, how on earth does earwax remind her of a scripture passage? Because everything seems to remind me of a scripture passage, but that's okay. So it reminds me of a scripture passage from James. Now, I love the book of James. You ought to take a read over the next week of the book of James. It's a short book, but man, he is a straight shooter. He tells it like it is, and he has so many good things in his letter for us. But I want to read you this one part that has to do with listening. So here from James chapter 1, starting verse 19. He says, "Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Human anger does not produce the righteousness God desires. So get rid of all the filth and evil in your lives and humbly accept the word God has planted in your hearts, for it has the power to save your souls." Now, friends, he's talking here about listening, but let me give you just a little insight into this passage, because the Greek word that James uses for filth, when he says to remove the filth and the evil from our lives, that word for filth literally translates into earwax. And he's talking about hearing, being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. And he's telling us, get rid of all of the junk that is there that keeps you from hearing what you need to hear. Because, friends, it's not only good advice, it's life-saving advice. Some of us may feel like we can't ever hear God. Why can't we hear him? But, friends, a lot of times there are too many things in our lives that are blocking his voice from our ears. So I would encourage you today to take inventory of your life. What is blocking his voice from you? What is distracting you? What is standing in the way? What has gotten between you and God? Because it's time to remove that. It's time to get that out. It's time to clean it out so that you can hear what he wants you to hear, so that you can experience what he wants you to experience. Because that kind of filth, that kind of earwax in our lives only serves to hurt us. So I would encourage you today, take some time and listen to him, because he is speaking, and he does know how to speak to our hearts, and he does know how to help us rid our lives of those things that get in the way of hearing his voice. So I hope that you will do that today, but not just today, every day, because it's good advice for us all week long. So friends, I'm so glad that you have joined me again. Thanks so much for participating in these things. Make sure that you share them so that other people can enjoy being a part of our community of faith, even when we can't be together. I hope you know how much you're loved, how much you're cared about, and I'll see you online again soon.